Hi guys, my name is Gwen and I just want to jump on really quick and talk about NurseGate. Yeah, that's what I call it, NurseGate. I am a founder of a Black nurse organization called Bold Black and Beautiful Nurses. I am a nurse practitioner and I am the owner of a lifestyle brand which includes the Nurse Face. Okay, let's get into it. Y'all know about NurseGate, right? Y'all heard about the school in Florida who was giving people degrees, honey, with no class time, no clinical time. Just pay $7,000 and we'll help you pass the LPN test. Pay $10,000 and we'll help you pass the RN test. Y'all heard about them? Okay, so this is what we're talking about. I am just so concerned for our career or our profession. That's what it is. I'm concerned for our profession because, if you're a nurse, we're always fighting for something, for respect from the doctors, from the health systems, for equal pay, for equal time off. All of these things we're fighting for. And then here goes something else, right? NurseGate. I heard that there's a hospital in Georgia who has about 22 nurses that they sent a letter and said, hey, if you have this, you've been identified as having one of these licenses, we would like for you to resign. None of them resign as of yet that I know of. None of them resign. That's a problem. Why is the hospital saying we would like for you to resign? I think, this is just Gwen, I think it's because COVID is working people to death and there's a shortage of nurses. So until they are required, I think a lot of systems is going to let this slide, right? I think it's horrible, awful. How do you take care of patients and you don't have the experience to do so? But hey, it's not me, it's not my family, but it is the profession. The next thing I think that these nurses should lose their license and never get a chance to get another one again. Now, do I think they should go to jail? No, I'm not an advocate for people going to jail for things like this. They did something wrong. But the problem for me that's becoming worse is a couple of them went and got lawyers. They're lawyering up and saying that they shouldn't lose their license because they sat for the test. Let's pause for a second. So this school taught people how to take a test. They did not tell people how to become nurses. They did not let them go into hospitals, nursing homes, so that they can practice the book smart on people where it becomes a clinical. They didn't do none of that. So you were able to take a test. That does not mean you have the knowledge of how to care for a patient. Now, let's know if you keep doing something over and over and over again, of course you might get good at it, but that doesn't mean that you are credentialed and you know how to do it. So these nurses should lose their license. I'm sorry. And then I read that there's a couple nurses who got lawyers. They're going to lawyer up. They don't think they should lose their license, and so they want to fight it. I think you should go sit down. You know why? Because you got away with it for some time, probably through COVID, and you made a lot of money. And so when you're wrong, you found out, go sit down. Like, don't make it worse for yourself and don't bring another embarrassment on the profession. That's just me. Now, what I have to say is when I worked at a certain hospital, there's a large group of nurses who are not from the United States. And most of them came with their bachelor's degree. I'm not saying that they are fake nurses, but a lot of them come from Florida. I'm just putting it out there. I ain't telling you, but I'm just telling you to know who is taking care of you and ensure that the place that you go to receive these services has a good standing. It's going to be hard for us to figure out. There's going to be so much more mistrust. As African Americans, we always seem to mistrust the medical system the most. This is just adding another layer to that. So don't just listen to me ramble on and on about what I think. Take a listen to what other people have to say. Listen, stay safe out there. Do the right thing. And I love you guys. Deuces.
Living in Atlanta, I was asked, do I feel safe with all the fake nurse allegations coming out? No. Let me tell you why. Even before this, in the city of Atlanta, they closed a hospital in the inner city. And so now there's more people going down to Grady or Emory, and now you're saying that there's possibly fake nurses in these hospitals. So I was already apprehensive and anxious before this, and now it's worse. Also, I think that they definitely should lose their license, but also that they probably shouldn't be able to apply for one in another state. I don't know if you have to do it per state like you would be a lawyer, or how that works as far as nurse licensing. But yes, I think they should do more. I think there should possibly be some kind of criminal charges, because what if somebody really got hurt?
Good day, everyone. I'm Kevin McNair, Executive Director of One Nation Mentoring. I have heard of the Florida scandal. I've seen it on Instagram or some type of social media post. I think it's crazy for real. As far as them, what I think should happen to them, I do think if they're interested in nursing, then they should be given the opportunity to take certain type of classes to get the clinical experience that they need if they have a true, genuine interest in helping others. Besides that, I do think they should be fired because they kind of they finesse their way around the system. I don't think it's right for people who actually work hard to get in the position that they're in without having to do the same type of work. And I wouldn't personally feel safe having one of those nurses care for me, not because they don't have the want to help other people, because I don't know if they really know the know-how. I know they kind of paid for the licensing part of the test, but actually doing something different than reading about it. And the work that I do, I personally know about that. So I think that I personally just wouldn't feel safe with them caring for me or anybody that I cared about.
Hey B3N, it's Leon here. As you guys know, I am a BSN student here at RMU. Finally in my senior year, so almost at the end of my bid. So that's going well. Just took a PEAS exam. Very ghetto, don't recommend. So I'm going to do a reaction or my thoughts on the nursing scandal per our fearless leader, Gwen. So initially, my reaction was, disheartened. Feeling like, wow, that's crazy this happened. It's very unfair. To my knowledge, these nurses, or fake nurses as we would call them, paid for diplomas or degrees, therefore giving them the authorization to take the NCLEX. Some of them passed it, some of them didn't, but overall, they're working as nurses now, so the licensure is real. It was just the diplomas and degrees that are fake, therefore making everything invalid. So kind of disheartening. I think it's a blow to the profession. I think in the hierarchy of healthcare, often nurses are looked at as the lowest man on the totem pole. So it kind of like, does a disservice to nurses, real nurses, because it makes it like we don't know anything, or, it lives up to what people think of us. Some people, depending on what specialty you're in. I see that a lot in the hospital. I think that as a student, it's very unfair, especially for students who are actually going through the fire. We all know nursing school is hard. It's something that is hard, and the licensure is hard to get. However, I think it's worth it. I think that nursing school is something that is very doable if you're putting the time and effort towards it. And learning how to understand nursing school and how to navigate it. So I think that it's kind of a cop-out. It's very a cheap cop-out for someone to, illegally or fraudulently, in this case, obtain a degree, therefore qualifying to take a licensure test. So, like I said, but I think overall, it's more of a blow to the profession. I think that the profession can come back from it, but it is a disservice to real nurses, because it's like, now there's, it'll be a running joke, fake nurse, or, So I think, and I see like a TikTok trend. And I do think that, like, with the nurses who are real nurses, I think the negative reaction is warranted, but I do think that it kind of like does a disservice overall, because it, creates more of a divide in nursing. I see a lot of people like, oh, well, that's why those new grads couldn't do this. And it's like, well, some of them still are real nurses. However, they're not going to know everything. So it kind of like, puts a little strain on new grads, I think, because they're like, oh, well, are you real or are you fake? And it's like, at some point, not everyone didn't know how to do everything. So that kind of like, I think that there's a little slippery slope when it comes to the memes, stuff like that, because it kind of like targets more new grads with the, discussion. But that's my opinion overall.
My name is Danielle Darby, and I recently heard about the NurseGate that's going on, and it makes me feel completely unsafe. I feel like I need to know more about any illness I have before going to the doctors, to make sure they follow, a guide and stay on task. I've already felt like when I go to the hospital, I have to get the breakdown of what I was treated for to make sure I'm not overbilled. But with this specifically, I just feel like we have to do more work as consumers. I don't feel like it's safe.
Hi, my name is Nakia Ingram. I'm the founder and executive director of Cultivating Resilient Youth. We have a youth program called FIRE, and it's a program where we talk about various subjects. Today we talked about the latest NurseGate the school that was giving out fake licenses to people to become nurses, and then they're filtered into our medical systems across the country. And so we talked about feeling safe. I think a lot of times it's already hard for us to go into hospitals and know that we are going to be safe and come out okay. And I immediately thought about myself and my family and not feeling safe going into a hospital, not knowing if the person or the nurse in front of me is a real licensed registered nurse or if they paid someone to get a license to come work in a hospital. That's very scary as I get older and as I deal with my family members and the young people in my family, so that's very scary. Another subject we talked about is wondering if the hospitals will immediately get rid of the people that they find out purchase these licenses versus going to school and clinical and learning to become nurses. And immediately I thought, no. A lot of them may keep them between the nurse shortage and needing people to fill those spaces in and making money, then they may keep them there. So that's even scary because how do we know? So as a community and a community member and talking to young people and trying to take care of my community, how am I to take care of myself or make sure they're able to take care of it? We don't have the right people in the right places ensuring that.
My name is Leilani Morris, RNBSN. I found out about the scandal, Florida scandal, through Instagram, and I think it's wild. I do think the nurses should be fired. I worked really hard 2 years to get my degree, to study, take exams, go to clinicals, really dive deep into what it is to be a nurse. And honestly, I don't think just a test makes you a good RN. You need that clinical experience. So I do think that they should be fired. And I do think that we need to make better measures in order to get more nurses, because we need more nurses.